He has 0 feats, 0 relevance, and the potential to rival even me. If and when, but never is.
A fraud. In anime or manga, it refers to someone who is heavily hyped, stated to have extreme potential, or has elite claims of strength, but ultimately fails to back it up when it matters most, if ever. And no one else quite fits this description like this man right here. This character has received incomprehensible amounts of slander and memes because of his fraud status given by the community. But is this all just baseless slander at the end of the day for fun, or is he truly a fraud? Now in today's video, we'll go through the story and by the end have our true final verdict. Exhibit 1. Getting outperformed by a non-sorcerer. So for this first exhibit, we have to go all the way back to the start of our series where Megumi meets Yuji and tells him that there's a curse at his school and they have to exorcise it. They get there and he's like, stay back, default human, I'll handle this. He runs into a literal grade 4 curse and summons his dogs instead of just stabbing it with a blade and continue on running. I don't know, bro. Already a little scuffed that we're slowing down at grade 4 curses, but whatever. Here's where the problem is, though. He turns the corner, seeing the main curse eating these people, and just starts monologuing in his head for multiple seconds, crying that he can't make it in time, instead of just running the 10 feet, as non-sorcerer Yuji comes flying through the window, bailing this monkey out, punching this thing in the head, getting the civilians back. Bro, you are a sorcerer who's trained for years and you are getting bailed out by non-sorcerer default humans. Pathetic. Then in the next second he speed blitzes it, one-tapping it. Like, why didn't we just do this before instead of standing around with a thumb in your ass? Eventually though, another curse falls from the ceiling and he pushes Yuji out the way to save him. It launches him through the window and bro is straight up gassed at 1 health. Like, come on, bro, you're a jujutsu sorcerer. This should not be enough to put you out of the fight, especially considering who his 2 father figures are, which we'll talk about later. Stay tuned. Then once again, default human, episode 1, non-sorcerer Yuji comes flying in, outperforming him, flying around, beating this thing's ass. If he had a cursed tool in the scene, he would have unironically sold this thing little to no difficulty. We all know the rest from here, though. He eats the finger, turning into Sukuna, finishing off the curse, bringing the end to this exhibit. So to review, he gets slowed down by grade 4 curses, almost lets these guys die from being too busy monologuing in his head instead of just running, and finally, as a sorcerer who's trained for years, gets outperformed by an episode 1 Yuji who's never trained 1 second of his life in this. Alrighty folks, we're not off to a great start, but this is the perfect time to mention the grading scale for this video. After every exhibit, we'll be saying if it negatively impacts his status, neutrally, or positively affects him. And after getting outperformed by a non-sorcerer, this is definitely a bad first look. But who knows? Maybe he could turn it around in the second exhibit. Exhibit 2. Being a pussy and getting diddled by Sukuna. Next up, we move forward a few episodes where our heroes get stuck in an incomplete domain. The special grade curse runs up on them, and Yuji and Megumi are both frozen in fear. Now, let me ask you a question. Who gets to their senses faster? The newbie sorcerer on his first day of the job with 0 curse technique or clue how to use curse energy? Or the highly trained for like 10 years sorcerer with a strong curse technique? It was Yuji. We all know it was Yuji. But whatever, it's not the biggest deal. Megumi and Nobar escape, giving the signal to Yuji to turn into Sukuna in order to deal with the curse, which is fine, whatever. Yuji fails at suppressing him, and this time Sukuna runs back outside, coming face to face with him. Then for the next like 6 minutes, 42 seconds, our boy Megumi gets his cheeks unbelievably spread by Sukuna, who's ragdolling him around for fun, just straight up bullying, bro. Now obviously, as much as everyone likes to bully Megumi, I think we can all agree it's not necessarily a bad feat for him. 99.9% of the cast would get their cheeks touched in crazy degrees against this guy. So for Exhibit 2, he gets a neutral rating because, you know, there's only so much you can do against this guy. Exhibit 3, having incestual thoughts and getting diddled by Todo. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to Exhibit 3. Him and Nobar run into Todo and Mai from the other Jujutsu high school. This goat Todo asks Megumi, what kind of woman is your type? What's the first thing that enters his mind, you may ask? His fucking sister! Yo, what the fuck? We need Child Protective Services to watch over our sister because this guy is nasty. Now, according to him, he wants to find someone with a pure personality like his sister, but like, come on, guys. Out of all of you watching this video, if someone asked you this question, how many of y'all are imagining your siblings in your head? Not not fraudulent behavior when it comes to fighting or anything, but still ultra questionable, and we just shouldn't let him get away with it. But regardless, he says, as long as they're compassionate, that's all that matters. Bro, why are you lying? It just sounds like one of those women who virtue signal under other girls' posts calling them hot when they're like the ugliest creature you've ever seen. Let's not fool around, Megumi. There's more to a person than just being nice, and that's not shallow to say. If she looks like Gorlock but is nice, you ain't cracking, little bro. But all that aside, to the actual fight, Todo rightfully starts laying his big BBC on Megumi, ragdolling him around, beating the absolute brakes off him. Now, just like Sukuna, I don't think it's necessarily a bad feat for Megumi because, once again, most people are getting their shit rocked by Todo. Here's the problem. He looks like he snaps towards the end of their fight, and we don't know what he was exactly thinking in this moment, but some people were speculating he was planning on summoning Big Raga, which would have been wild to do against a fellow classmate. Now, for anyone watching who doesn't know who Big Raga is, I'll quickly give you a rundown on his technique, the 10 shadows. He has 10 Shikigami he can summon to help him fight. There's Doggy, Birdie, Mr. Frog, Silly Snake, and 8-handled sword divergent Sila Divine General Maharaga, a godlike divine being that can adapt to any and all phenomena, which only like 3 to 5 characters could maybe beat. Only problem is his Shikigami only fight alongside him if he beats them in a 1v1 duel, and no sorcerer in history has ever managed to tame Big Raga. Meaning, if he spawned him here, it would have resulted in the deaths of both of them. Sensational. Now, some of you may be thinking, surely he wasn't planning on summoning him here, but like, sure, I haven't mentioned it yet, but this guy's like almost let him rip like multiple occasions before this fight, and we're only like 10 episodes into the show, so we don't know for sure. But considering he was thinking about diddling his sister, got his cheek spread by Todo, and potentially was gonna slime out his classmate, I'm gonna just be safe and say Exhibit 3 is a negative moment for him in the series. Real quick, guys, just want to let you guys know I do have a Patreon where I am reacting to the block manga. Konigami fucking saved it! So if that sounds interesting, check it out. Exhibit 4. Struggles versus Kamo and gets diddled by Hanami. Now, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we enter the Jujutsu High Exchange event where both schools come together to compete in, like, random shit. We cut to Kamo fighting against Megumi, and I'm gonna just say it, you gotta be insta-farming shitters like this ball of cheese. Some people will argue that he's not actually a fraud, but, like, guys, let's be so for real. Mekamaru sent them all on a different mission during Shibuya since he knew they were all shitters with 0 talent. This is like off the top of my head, but I remember later in the series, Kamo like saw Kenjaku, and Kenjaku like left, and Kamo was like, "You're not gonna kill me?" And he goes, "Nah, you're so weak, whether you live or die doesn't matter." He struggles against bro a bit before he gets the upper hand. Unfortunately, though, near the end of their fight, they come to face with Hanami, a special grade curse. They run away before trying to jump him just to get his cheek spread. I mean, Hanami's a decently strong special grade curse, so we can't slander him too hard for this, especially considering he actually performed a lot better than the last special grade. Overall, maybe 1 or 2 questionable moments, but I'm going to give him a neutral here because there's not that much he could have done against this guy. Exhibit 5. Having no ego. Next up is a super small exhibit, but I just want to bully him a little bit for this one. Both schools are playing baseball, and this guy goes for a fucking bunt. I'm sorry, but like as a grown-ass man, not going for the home run in baseball has to be like a top 5 most beta thing you can do. Alongside things like holding your nose when jumping in a pool, or guys who act completely different the second a woman's around. We gotta check under Megumi's legs, because is this truly the son of Toji Fushiguro? Oh, I just realized this is actually a perfect segment into his bloodline and why we expect slightly more from him than the average sorcerer. His blood father is Toji Fushiguro, a man with 0 cursed energy, giving him a heavenly pact, which grants him unbelievable levels of strength and speed. About 12 years ago, when Gojo was still a teenager, he was arguably the strongest singular person on the entire planet, as he low-diffed a teen Gojo and Geto, 2 special grade sorcerers. Then Gojo awakens, becoming one of the strongest sorcerers in history as he adopts Megumi as kind of like his own son, training him from a young age. Let's be so for real. If you're Megumi, you automatically have slight expectations put in you, knowing both your father and father figure are 2 of the strongest people in history that exude aura. And you're out here losing every fight, going for bunts in baseball. Oh my god, give me a break. Also, just saying, if bro was in block, he would lose near instantly. So yeah, for Exhibit 5, he's getting a fat, stinky negative rating for his bitch-made performance in baseball. We only have one more exhibit in Season 1, and so far he's at 3 negative performances and 2 neutral. Will he at least have 1 good performance in the season? Well, let's see. Exhibit 6, Domain. Now, folks, entering our final exhibit in the season, we have Megumi taking a rematch versus a similar special grade curse to earlier in the video, except this time, it's even stronger than before. He's getting his dick rocked, and we get a flashback of Gojo training him, and he basically tells him that he believes his potential is just as high, if not higher, than Yuji's. The only problem is his mental aspect. He actually refers to the baseball game I just mentioned about how he went for a bunt. Meanwhile, he and Yuji would always go for the home run. I'm not saying a bunt is bad. Baseball is a team sport in which every member is expected to play the role. However, being a jujutsu sorcerer is an individual sport. But isn't coordinating with other sorcerers important? Yeah, sure. But no matter how many allies you have around you, when you die, you'll be all alone. You're underestimating yourself and others instead of envisioning yourself as being stronger in the future. Maybe it's because the ace up your sleeve. You think that in the worst case scenario, if you were to sacrifice yourself, your death would make things end well. Keep that up and forget about being as strong as me. You won't even match up to Nanami. Winning by dying and winning even if you die are 2 completely different things. And after remembering Gojo's words to him, he stops into trying to kamikaze with Big Raga and dreams of a version of himself who surpasses limits, popping an incomplete domain, going crazy, laying some pipe for once. Absolutely overwhelming bro, beating his ass before hitting the finishing blow with his demon dogs, beating the special grade curse. So yeah, folks, I'm happy to report for the first time in our video, our guy Megumi actually lived up to some of his potential, farming this curse, ending our first season on a positive note. Exhibit 7. Beating the inverse monkey. Now for our first exhibit in season 2, we have Megumi and Yuji fighting against this inverse guy. This will be a super short point, but basically they're fighting against this guy with the curse technique that makes it so the harder you hit him, the less damage you do. Most people can't win against him because they can't figure out what the technique is before losing. Luckily, this is kind of the first fight in the series where we realize maybe all those years of training weren't for nothing, as he has a super high battle IQ. He figures out this dude's curse technique and uses his massive brain to coordinate with Yuji to beat this guy's ass. Overall, a quick fight, but another good feat from Megumi. Wow, 2 in a row. Pretty impressive considering how the majority of this video has gone so far. Exhibit 8. Saving everyone from Dagon. Next up, we have Maki, Nanami, and Naobito trapped in Dagon's domain, a special grade curse about as strong as Hanami from before. The same one that diddled him earlier in the video. All of them are getting fucked by Dagon all near death until Megumi comes flying into the domain with his own, canceling his sure hit effect, keeping them all alive. Then he comes up with a genius plan to open a hole in his domain to let them all escape. He actually is successful in this plan because he did outsmart Dagon until, well, yeah, Toji's reincarnated body comes flying into the domain and absolutely spreads this guy's cheeks. I'm going to give Megumi his moment here because he did save all their lives and he would have gotten them all out if it wasn't for the weird Toji interruption. So yeah, he's getting credit for it. But with this part of the story is a perfect transition to Exhibit 9, surviving the angry alcoholic gambling addict father. After touching Dagon so inappropriately that the special good curse didn't even land a blow on him, he decides to go after the next strongest person in the vicinity, which happens to be Megumi. We just saw this guy absolutely speed blitz and negative diff a special grade curse, and now he's after a tired Megumi who just popped his domain. Megumi decides to basically play back and defensively until he can find an opening against a bloodlusted Toji, and he has the generational feat of surviving multiple minutes off with his quick thinking and ability to fight while keeping himself on his toes. He even almost lands a blow at the end of the fight before Toji remembers his past and, ends himself. But this is absolutely going down as a positive leveled feat for our boy because almost 100% of the verse he's not surviving this long against a bloodlusted Toji. So wonderful job, Megumi. You've had 4 positive performances in a row. I didn't even know you had it in you. I don't know why people make fun of you so much. At this point, to be called a fraud, I feel like you'd have to use something incredibly selfish and brain dead, like gets a lot of your friends hurt or killed. But I'm sure you don't do anything like that in the future, so you're probably fine. Exhibit 10, summoning Big Raga. Now, though, ladies and gentlemen, then next time we see our protagonist, he is, badly injured after the Toji fight just 1 minute ago. In this dirty monkey Haruta, a top 3 worst character in the show appears, trying to third party him. Bro, I could go on and on about how much I hate this fat monkey, but it's not worth it. Now, at legit 1 HP, he had no other options, and he decides, fuck it, there's nothing else I can do, so I might as well kamikaze this shitter with Big Raga. As he summons my goat, he drops one of the greatest lines in the show. Hey, monkey fuck, I'll be dying first. Let me see your best shot. Ooh, that shit was so tough, bro. Goated one-liner from Megumi. You gotta give him credit. Then we see arguably one of the greatest fights in all of anime with Sukuna versus Maharaga. Now, having him summon Maharaga would be unbelievably tragic if he was full power. But obviously, as we all just saw, he popped a domain and he was left at 1 HP from Toji. So you can't really fault him for this. So he'll be getting a neutral rating for this exhibit. And just like that, folks, we finish off season 2 Megumi having a total of 3 horrific moments, 3 neutral, and 4 positive. As of now, he's positive overall. So we'll see if this trend will continue in season 3. Exhibit 11, Hyper Genius. Now, for our first feat in season 3, we have Megumi showing his true galaxy-sized brain in beating and outsmarting Kirara, the character with the straight-up most complicated technique in the entire series. By touching up to 5 different objects, she gives them different names based on a star constellation, which makes certain stars attract or repel one another. Megumi, after fighting her and looking at all the star names, within legit seconds, just randomly guesses is based on a star constellation, which, let's be real, most of us are not coming to that conclusion. Then out of the millions of them, he just randomly as well guesses the exact one it is, which is the Southern Cross, which legit stunlocks Kirara. She couldn't even believe bro figured it out. They discuss the technique and how it works for a few minutes while she I don't know, just watches them, I guess, letting them figure it out. And Megumi comes to the genius conclusion that in order for them to reach her, they have to approach the stars in a certain order. Bro, in what universe are any of us figuring out her technique is based on a constellation, figuring out the specific constellation, and figuring out you have to approach each star in a specific order before she just finishes you off? Unironically, a top 3 to 5 battle IQ in the entire series for our boy. He eventually outplays her by doing some 500 IQ hyper genius 4D chess move with his dogs in the stars, forcing her to release her technique. Truthfully, I don't think most of us exactly understood what he did 100%, but we can understand it was super smart. So for the 5th time in this video, he's been given a positive rating for his performance. Wow. Exhibit 12, beating the Monkey Squad. Now for our 12th exhibit, we have this big fight within season 3 against Reggie and the other monkeys in his team. He survived some initial explosion attacks before fighting this random giga shitter in this room before knocking him out the window laying pipe, finishing him off. Then he faces off against Reggie, a super strong grade 1 sorcerer from the past, with the ability to more or less just summon anything he wants from his receipts, making this a very difficult fight because he got a lot of different things to deal with. He tricks him into fighting within this gymnasium before surprising him with the domain. He starts fucking him before Reggie spawns some cars into his shadows as he figures out he has to bear the weight of whatever's in his shadow. Reggie thinks he's won until Megumi reveals the shadows above him too, as he drops this big ass elephant on him, being like, let's see which one of us breaks first, pussy. Eventually, Megumi wins against this shitter as he sinks deeper and deeper into the shadows, barely able to breathe until he's bailed out by his cars from before that drive him to the surface. Now he thinks he's finally won, dropping his ace up his sleeve on Megumi to completely crush him with a house. Then last second, Megumi falls into his shadow, ending the domain as the house breaks the floor above, causing him to fall into the pool below, drowning him for a 2nd time. He's confused why Megumi is so strong and realizes it's the car still in the shadow, so he has to dispel them as he barely makes it out of the pool. This guy was so smart. He planned all this out beforehand to once again make a 5D chess move against his opponent. They both get at the pool for their final duel when Reggie's guard finally drops the dog from the beginning of their fight, comes back to finish him off. Genuinely a fucking genius. Like, you gotta acknowledge how high his battle IQ is at this point in the series. So once again, he is getting another positive rating from this ranking, now making him at 6 positive, 3 neutral, and 3 negative. Okay guys, real quick, the final 2 exhibits after this are massive manga spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I appreciate you watching this far. And yeah. Exhibit 13, getting body stolen. Now, for our 2nd to last exhibit, we have to cut all the way to chapter 211 in the manga, where our crew is planning to give Megumi's sister, who was dragged into the Culling Games, 100 points so she could leave the colony and be free from it. Here's the problem though. There were 2 different types of sorcerers in the Culling Games. Modern day people who gained cursed techniques, and reincarnated sorcerers from the past who took over normal people's bodies for a 2nd chance at life. After seeing his sister, he gives her 100 points to free herself, and she adds a new rule allowing entry and exit across colony borders. Huh? Who is this bitch? When a being takes flesh, it gains knowledge of the present from its vessel's brain. That's how players of this type, such as Choso and Sukuna, are able to function in modern times. That makes it possible to read the vessel's memories and impersonate that person. Why did I assume Sumiki is the awakened type, not possessed? And we find out she's Yorozu, and just, you know, she just fucking flies away. They try to run after her, but Sukuna switches places with Yuji, force feeding him a finger, changing bodies. One of the craziest plot twists in this story. But yeah, listen. This specific exhibit isn't necessarily awful. The only thing you can really fault him on is assuming that she was the awakened type versus possessed. But, you know, it's literally a sister with all his memories, so you can't fault him too much for being tricked here. And then Sukuna speed blitzing you, force feeding you a finger. I mean, pretty much no one in the verse other than Gojo could have done anything here. So yeah, I'll be giving him a neutral for Exhibit 13. Exhibit 14. The big one. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to our final exhibit. As of now, he has 6 positive, 4 neutral, 3 negative. But truthfully, we could change the bunt one in baseball to neutral and also the total one because he probably wasn't going to summon Big Raga here, which means honestly, without any trolling, he realistically should be at 6 positive, 6 neutral, only 1 negative at this point in the story, which was in episode 1. So truthfully, we could really argue that he hasn't done anything that fraud-worthy since the first episode. So why do people bully him so much? Well, the reason's kind of in this final exhibit. The final fight of this series has begun. Sukuna is about to run the gauntlet through the entire verse. Gojo fights against Sukuna, Maharaga, Agito, and the plot itself, barely losing against Gege in the 1v4. As Megumi's adopted father falls, giving his life to weaken Sukuna. Next, Kashimo comes in, another reincarnated sorcerer, giving his all just to get diddled. Literally everyone else then appears to clean up the fight as Kusakabe and Higuruma get slashed up, Choso gets impaled, Ino gets smashed away, Yuji gets his stomach sliced open, Higuruma dies, then Yuta appears with Rika popping a domain versus Sukuna, engulfing he, Rika, Sukuna, and Yuji. They jump him while Yuji keeps landing soul punches on him, weakening his control over Megumi. They take massive damage until finally Yuji breaks through to Megumi's soul in order to stop Sukuna. Keep in mind, at this point, Sukuna has killed off his teacher, sister, Kashimo, seemingly Higuruma, and will finish off Yuji, Yuta, Kusakabe, Ino, Maki, Todo, Choso, Angel, Miguel, Lorei, and legitimately every other character in the series if he doesn't do something right now. And when it's finally his time to take back over and put an end to the madness, he's like, nah, I'd give up. As this fat turbo giga bump is too fucking emo to fight back, and he doesn't take control when they can win, causing Sukuna to slice Yuji and Yuta in half to go and try and kill everyone else. Oh my god, bro. This is the sole reason Megumi receives the amount of slander he does. He actually had 0 bad performances since the ending of season 1, and then giga throws it all away in the end, being selfish, fat, stinky, and emo. What a pathetic monkey. Willing to let all your friends perish because you can't lock in for 2 seconds. So yeah, overall, one of the most horrific fuck-ups I've ever seen in manga history. So to conclude, in Jujutsu Kaisen, he ends the story with 6 positive, 6 neutral, and 2 fuck-ups, with one of them being ultra horrific. Now, does this fuck-up negate all the good he had done up until this point? Well, I'll make the final verdict at the end of the video. But real quick, we have one more surprise exhibit for you all, which I want to get into in a second. But first, before that, I want to quickly actually review the Potential Man meme that gave us the golden age of slander for a minute. Meet Potential Man. He was the son of Toji, who Gojo claimed to have potential to rival him. Well, that was false, didn't even get close. His completed domain will go crazy. Yeah, once again, never got one. He'll hit a Black Flash too eventually. Oh my god, I didn't even think about this. He hasn't even hit a Black Flash. Bro, fucking season 1 Nobar hit one, for God's sake. Can't wait for him to find out about Toji. Yep, never got to that revelation for some reason. Just wait until he comes back. As we just saw, he failed to do that when it mattered most. Give me liberty, give me fire, give me middle schoolers or I retire. Oh, this slander is actually false. We did see him win some fights in the end versus strong-ish people, so not too deserved. And then the entire right side isn't necessarily valid either, so that just leaves us with the line at the bottom, which is my personal favorite of this image. If and when, but never is. There truly cannot be a harder line of slander I have ever seen concocted by a man to bully a character. But yeah, there is a reason I'm bringing this image up, so without further ado, let's hop into the 15th and final bonus exhibit. Exhibit 15, If Only. This bonus exhibit is talking about the sequel manga Modulo. First off, when this manga was released, the slander memes were truly generational. People joking that in the future, Megumi died behind a McDonald's to a grade 4 curse were just so funny. But It wasn't just him. People were slandering the main alien character so hard for being weak, calling him Modulo when Modulo wasn't even his name. Literally the name of the series. I genuinely believe if you ask the average person who read this shit what this guy's name was, they will not be able to because he is truly that forgettable. But regardless, a few characters from the original series were mentioned here, like Yuji, of course, Todo, Nobara, Maki, Yuta, Panda, and fucking Wee Wee for some reason. But you want to take a guess who didn't even make a singular appearance? You guessed it. Potential Man. Actually, no, sorry. There was one time he was mentioned in the manga. You want to take a guess how that sentence went? If only Fushiguro was here right now. This brother's one mention in the series was an if only. Yeah, I don't know what Gege was thinking here, as he has done irreparable damage to Bro's brand. And now for the final verdict on is Megumi Fushiguro a fraud and bum? My answer? He's the GOAT and a fraud at the same time. Now calm down, I know what you're thinking. How can he exist in two states of matter at the same time? Well, I'll tell you. He is undoubtedly a fraud for never living up to the hype and build up and shitting the bed at the absolute worst time possible. But he's also the fucking GOAT for blessing us with the golden age of memes and slander. He may be a fraud, but he's brought more joy and laughter to our community than arguably anyone else in the series from his bumminess. So, Megumi, I want to personally thank you for your once-in-a-lifetime performance at giving people all across the world laughter and great memes. You may be a fraud and bum, but you're our fraud and bum, and we wouldn't trade you for the world. So yeah, like and subscribe as we're close to 50k. Once more, thanks to our goated Patreon members in the special grade tier, Eration, Savage Toby's wife, Silver King, and Jordan. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Damn, this video got hella Megumi.